it's like seeing an amazing movie. Like, I remember the first time I saw Cinema Paradiso, which is my favorite film. I got out of that movie and I thought to myself, damn, I envy all of my friends. I envy everybody in the world, because anybody who has not seen this movie still has the opportunity to see it for the very first time. You have no idea what you're missing right now. I mean, you have absolutely no idea what's going on right this second behind me. You know, last night when I was getting ready to go to sleep, I picked up my phone real quick, and I have Pluto TV on my phone. And you know, occasionally they show amazing movies. And I saw Denzel Washington and Eva Mendes on the screen, and I was like, I gotta watch that, you know, because first of all, Eva Mendes is an amazing actor. Denzel is Denzel, you know, the king. And it was a film called Out of Time, and I had never seen it before. So I was like, I thought I had seen pretty much every Denzel Washington movie ever, but I hadn't. And so I just started watching it. It was a pretty good movie, pretty interesting storyline. It was well shot, but I noticed that it was shot kind of stopped down in terms of aperture. Like, I could see everything in most of the scenes. Like, most of this film, I knew exactly where these characters were, what was going on around them, everything. Like, I knew why they were placed in these situations, you know, in these environments for these situations. Like, the director made it pretty clear why they were where they were at any given moment. And it just occurred to me, like, you know, we're always so focused on how fast a lens can be, you know, like f1.2, f0.9, you know, like, we just want it to be so incredibly fast so that, you know, if I get close, it's even more blurry. And I'm like, how often do you really use that? And the only time you do use that, or the only time you should use that, is with a lot of intention. Like, you need to do that on purpose. You need to understand exactly, specifically why you want to blur out the background and just see the character. Or maybe you want to shift the focus from one character to another and pull the focus to make the audience pay attention to one, you know, piece of dialogue, and then to another piece of dialogue, or one reaction, a facial reaction to another reaction, or whatever the case may be. Maybe you want to have control of that, but, you know, can you have a whole film of doing that? I don't think so. So the movie was amazing. You know, I enjoyed it. You know, not the best Denzel Washington movie or Eva Mendes movie ever, but it was really good. But I watched it because it was so well shot and it was so well intentioned. You know, it was like, it made sense why they used certain lenses or apertures or whatever. Like, obviously I don't know specifically what lens they were using or what setting it was at, but I could kind of tell, like, this is at a fast aperture because, you know, for example, at the end, there was a very kind of intimate, beautiful moment between Denzel Washington and Eva Mendes at the end. Kind of a culmination of their whole relationship during the whole film. And in that case, very blurry background, like, it really didn't matter what was around them. It was just all about the colors at that point. But, excuse me, swallowed something funny. So it didn't really matter what was around them. It was more about them, about this moment, about this energy between them. You know, like I said, the culmination of what they had been through the whole film, and this moment was a really important moment. But everything else was like, where are they? What's going on? You know, they're getting from point A to point B. There's something happening here. They're on the street. They're in a hotel. They're, you know, in an airport, whatever. You want to see where they are. And so in that case, you could use any lens, literally, any lens. Doesn't matter if it's only 11, doesn't make a difference. Doesn't matter if it's a kit lens. As long as you are capable with your camera and you know what you're doing, you know, as long as you're in focus, as long as you have your white balance set properly, it doesn't matter. So, I don't know. I just thought about that, how, you know, it's interesting how in filmmaking, the writer, the director, the cinematographer, we can all control what you're thinking. You know, right now, like I said, there's some stuff going on behind me that is crazy, you know, like kind of indescribable. And it reminds me of when I was a little kid. My grandfather was an usher at Yankee Stadium. He used to hustle seats for a living. They don't have ushers anymore. And in fact, when I was a baby, he used to wheel me down the Grand Concourse and in a stroller and take me to work with him when I was a baby. So I got to sit on the dugout at Yankee Stadium while my grandfather would go up and hustle seats, and I went to a lot of Yankee games, a lot of Giant football games when they played in Yankee Stadium at that time. So I'm kind of giving away my age now. But anyway, it just reminds me of a story that one time he took me to work with him, and I remember, maybe it was one of the first times that I could actually remember this, but he wheeled me in and we were coming out through one of those tunnels, you know, where you come out to the field. You know, it's like your back where all the concessions are and the bathrooms and all that kind of stuff. And he's wheeling me out, and all of a sudden, I'm in darkness. And all I could see is light at the end of this tunnel. And I don't know what's there. I'm a little kid. I don't know anything, you know? But my imagination started to go crazy. And I remember thinking when I was a little baby that there's an ocean out there, because my grandfather and my grandmother used to take me to Rockway Beach every summer. And when I was a baby, I guess it made a huge impression on me the first time I was ever at the ocean. You know, we went from, you know, the street in the Bronx to the ocean in Queens. And to me, that looked like the edge of the earth, you know? And so when I was in this tunnel and it was all dark and I could see this light, I was like, oh my God, he's taking me to the ocean. But I also had this thing in my head where when we got to the end of this tunnel, it was going to go straight down like a waterfall. Like, I guess, even though I had no idea what Niagara Falls was at the time, that's what I envisioned. Like, I was going to get to the edge of this and then phew, it was going to go straight down. And so, you know, I was nervous. I was kind of afraid, but I was excited at the same time. But, you know, I felt okay because my grandfather, he didn't seem nervous. You know, he was just wheeling me and everything was cool. I kept looking back at him and he just kept looking at me. And I remember we got to the very edge of that tunnel and all of a sudden we came out and oh my God, I saw the baseball field at Yankee Stadium. This was probably the first time that I'm talking about. And I saw the diamond and it looked this beautiful shade of brown. And I saw the grass and it was like the most beautiful color of green I had ever seen in my life. And I saw the scoreboard and the clock and the monuments, the famous monuments at Yankee Stadium. I didn't know what they were, but I saw everything. It was really interesting to me. It makes me think of what we can do as filmmakers and how we can control people's journeys in watching our narrative work or documentary work or whatever. Even if you're doing a wedding or something like that, you can kind of guide people and keep them interested by not giving everything away all the time, but also using it sparingly, you know? Because, I don't know, you know, to keep somebody in that kind of state of suspense or, you know, unknown for too long, you know, that could get kind of boring too, because, you know, like, where are we going? You know, what's up? So I think it's amazing too to show everything clearly, because when I got out through that tunnel and I saw the stadium, I think that was at that time in my life, I mean, I was a little kid, but I think at that time it was perhaps the most beautiful moment of my life. And now as an adult, a grown man, I think, man, that was amazing. You know, that was beautiful. I can never have that moment again. You know, I can never see the baseball field and, you know, the stands, the monuments, the light. Like, I can never see that for the first time ever again. It's like seeing an amazing movie. Like, I remember the first time I saw Cinema Paradiso, which is my favorite film. I got out of that movie and I thought to myself, damn, I envy all of my friends. I envy everybody in the world, because anybody who has not seen this movie still has the opportunity to see it for the very first time. And for me, that experience of seeing Cinema Paradiso for the first time was just the most soul-filling experience. It just gave me everything, you know? So anyway, depth of field, it's an amazing, interesting thing, you know? It's working with light, you know, with darkness and light, you know, working with bokeh, blurry background, you know, leading the audience, the people who are receiving your story on a journey that's really interesting and beautiful and kind of, you know, compelling, that keeps them there, is the reason you choose different apertures, or, you know, different lenses, or, you know, different focal lengths. You've got to have a reason. And so I'm shooting this on a Panasonic 50mm f1.8, and that's why I could shoot it at f.8, and hopefully it's keeping me in focus, and so what's behind me is not clear. But if I opened up this aperture, it would be more clear. Like, this is more clear, right? Like, you could see more behind me now, because I changed the aperture. Now I'm at f11, and so probably you can see almost everything. Now I won't be able to tell until I get home, get this in the computer, but probably this is more clear. Now if I was closer to the camera, I could give you a much better example of what I'm talking about. And so let me do that real quick, like this. Like, you know, now I'm closer to the camera, I'm back to f1.8. Everything is really blurred out. I could tell you anything. Like, I could take you through a journey. I could have you imagining all kinds of stuff. Like, there's an airplane going over my head right now. I could incorporate that into the story somehow, and you hear it probably, but you don't see it. You don't really see anything behind me. You have no idea what's going on behind me. But if I stay at the same distance and I change the aperture like this, now you can see what's behind me a little bit better, because now I'm at f11, and even though I'm still close to you and hopefully I'm in focus, you can see what's going on behind me. And even though it's still a little blurry because it's a 50mm lens, it should be pretty clear now compared to what it was a minute ago. And hopefully it's light enough. Can't really tell. I have an ND filter on, so I might have to mess with this in post, but anyway, now you can see more of what's behind me. So anyway, yeah, Denzel Washington and Eva Mendes, Out of Time, made me think about all this stuff, and these are things that I think about all the time that I'm really kind of consumed with. Filmmaking and what we're showing the audience and why, and how does that help the story move along? You know, how does that provide an audience member with a great, beautiful, meaningful, compelling, interesting, entertaining ride? You know, what tells the story best? That's what I'm always thinking about. So, thanks for watching, and see you on the next one. Peace. And by the way, there was actually nothing going on behind me. Just dreams of kids playing baseball for the first time, and me being a catcher when I was a kid, and running around the bases like a knucklehead. Thanks for watching.